card minimum payments, always pay out the full balance. 15% on compounded on a monthly basis is not nothing. So it's 16% EAR is a lot of money. So always pay off your account balance. Any question about that? All right. So let me finish talking about S1. So S1 is a question that sort of tie interest rate with individual tax brackets. It's pretty practical scenarios. So it says you have two sources of credits. Once you have some cash lying around in your bank saving accounts. It's that deposits generate a stream of interest on a annual basis. And you also have access to a home equity loan. So now you want to buy a car. So it's asking, should you take the car loan or should you, resort to some other sources of credits? So the approach of this kind of problem is that you always want to first figure out the after-tax EAR of each credit line. So let's do that. S1 on page 44. All right, so we have three streams. We have three sources of credit. We have car loans. We have home equity. We have credit card. Is it credit card? Yeah, credit card. And your tax bracket, it's 30%. All right, we need 3 volunteers for this. We want to know the after-tax EAR. Any volunteer? Ethan, you want to volunteer again? No?
Nathan, I'm going to make you volunteer for the Caroline Public.
Anyone want to give it a shot?
6% for the car loan.
For car loan, what's that?
6.136.
6.136%. All right, what about home equity? Anyone want to give it a shot for home equity? For home equity, it's a little tricky because we need to figure out the after-tax. We need to figure out the tax bracket. So apparently, in the United States, when you're taking out a home equity loan, the government's going to be tax deductible. So you need to factor that in. So in effect, your home equity loan is going to be 6.75%, that is the APR, and because it's compounding on a monthly basis, you divide it by 12, using the regular conversion to EAR formula, and a -1. And now, once you have this bad boy, you want to multiply it by, what is the constant that I want to multiply here? 0.7. And that is 1 minus 30%, because the government's going to give you that 30% rebate, right? So this expression evaluated to 4.8% roughly, right? And then the car loan, I think the car loan is a little off here. Wait, can someone recalculate car loan EAR for me? So the car loan EAR is 4.
That was the credit card.
Oh, that's the credit card.
Yeah, 6.136.
6.136.
Yeah.
Yep, let's do the car loan together. So car loans are 4.75%. 0.75%, and it's compounded semi-annually. So we only divide it by 2 and bring it to the second power. All right, and this guy's going to be So we look at these three numbers, and we say to ourselves that the car loan turns out to be the cheapest source of credits. So if you were to buy a car, you would just take the car loan out. So the biggest takeaway of this question is that you always want to figure out a way to incorporate the tax bracket into the home credit card and the home equity loan, because the tax bracket and tax deductible is gonna, if you don't do that, Heckman's gonna whip you. So, questions?
Okay, might be dumb, but how do we know which kinds of loans are tax deductible or not?
If you take a look at the handout, I believe it's on 37. So page 37 says in the U.S. Tax paid. So there are basically three types of loans that are tax deductible. You have a home mortgage, home equity, and then student loans. Oh, and there's also loans to purchase securities. So take a note of that. Those are loans that are tax deductible. Any other questions about interest rate, the topic?
Can you just repeat why you multiply that by 0.7?
Right, so when you, at the end of the year, when you're filing your tax report, right, you want to declare the amount of tax, the amount of interest you pay on either car or mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that in home equity loan, for example, and it turns out that because home equity is a tax deductible loan, the interest you pay on that loan is going to be tax deductible. So imagine, let's say that for this car purchase, I pay a total of $1,000 on my car. That's the interest, the tax payment, the interest payment on the car. And at the end of the year, when I'm filing my tax report, I'm going to report that. I'm going to report this $1,000 to the government. And the government is going to see it, and he's going to consider my individual tax bracket, and he's going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a 30% rebate, basically. So he's going to refund you back to your account $300. So in fact, you're only paying 70% of the interest. So that's why you're multiplying by that 0.7 right here.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions about interest rate?
So we'll talk about bonds now. Then Nathan will solve the Caroline problem. And then, and then Tony will talk about mortgages and refinancing them in the last part. So I'm going to start with S5. It's an easy problem. S5 on page 45. So do any of you have like questions on bonds before I start solving the problem? Let me just write I just want to write the cash information.
I can hold it for you. I need to read off. That's fine, right?
So we have security fees,
Yeah, security and a price today.
and then
In 1 year, so that is the cash flow payment. Year 1, year 2.
and we have B1.
Year 1, B2, C, D, 95, 90,
90.
90,
Oh,
90,
okay.
80,
Question.
10, 17, 100, 0, 0, 204,
So 100, 0, 0.
200,
So there's 0, 0, 100.
0, 100.
Let's just do it. Yeah, we're finally out there. So actually, like bonds, what are bonds used for? They're used to like, they're a mechanism for people to borrow or lend money, right? So I'm a person I know I'm gonna need cash flows, like a time in a year and in 2 years. So they give me a mechanism where I'm insured that I'm gonna get these cash flows in year 1 and year 2. So they're a way to borrow money or like lend money, because you could sell bonds or you could buy bonds, right? So in this question, it's asking first for the no arbitrage price of bond C. So this is an example of a bond. Let's say I'm a person that I know I'm gonna need this amount in year 1, this amount in year 2, and then this amount in year 3. So I want a bond that gives me these cash flows. So I'm a business, I have some like, a lot of businesses do that. They have like requirements and debt and things like that. So they usually like either buy or sell bonds to ensure that they have the sufficient cash flows they need.
Yep. Another note about bonds is that bonds and cash flows are tied together very heavily. So like we always heard about the term quantitative easing, and what does that mean? Like, so for example, the government wanted to push down the interest rate, and what are they going to do is that, let's suppose that we have a zero coupon bond in a year that pays back $1,000, and then what the government's going to do is that he's going to print a lot of money, and is going to buy bond. Like by driving the price of bonds by driving the price of bond up, in effect, what it's doing is that it's going to drive down the interest rate, right? Make sense? And then once the interest rate is down, encourage the corporates and the individual to borrow a lot more money. So that's the way of quantitative easing, by printing money and buying and getting that money into the bond market.
Awesome. So the first part is finding the no arbitrage price for this bond. And no arbitrage is basically a very fancy word for saying fair. what is the fair price for this bond? Like what is the real amount of money that I should pay for this bond? It's fair price. So how this is done, we observe zero coupons bond, like these are bonds in the market, right? And I'm given their price, and I know they pay these cash flows. So I use these bonds, and they're assumed to be fairly priced, because this is the assumption that the market is fairly priced. And I use these bonds to construct what I need. And this is the idea of a replicating portfolio. I want a portfolio that pays me these amounts in some time periods, and I want to create these using bonds so that I have. And how can I price them? I also price them using the information I have, which is the market prices. Right? So this is the idea of no arbitrage. So I have these cash flows, and I'm trying to replicate them from these three bonds here. Right? So what are the weights? Can anybody tell me what the weights are that I should take for each of these bonds to have this bond here? So this would be basically the x vector that I have over there. It's the weights that I want to get from each bond.
Yep, so what's the replicating portfolio that we want to hold in order to pay off the same amount in day one, and in year 1, year 2, and year 3 for each bond? So that's the replicating portfolio methods.
Yeah.
Yep, one of the 3 methods of bond pricing that we're going to talk about.
2, 1, 42, and 23.
Awesome. That's it. 2. That's it. So I know this gives me 100. I need 400. Just take 4 of this. This gives me 100 in year 2. I need 400 in year 2. Sorry, this was 2. I need 400. I can just take 4 of this bond, and the same thing here. And that's it. This is just your replicating portfolio. Right? Good? Awesome. So now the price. Yes. So the price for the replicating portfolio, how would I price this? I know what I need out of each bond. How can I price this?
Use the prices of the securities B1, B2, B3 then.
Yeah, that's it. And this is basically P transpose XC. Right? So I'm going to solve example 7 using the 3 methods. I go through every step in detail. But just this is like an easier example, so I just want to make sure you guys are familiar with like the matrix notation, because it could be a bit confusing. So this is, we found X first, and here we didn't need to take the inverse of the matrix. You could very easily do it. Does anybody know why? That you basically what the answer I got from someone, this answer, was basically finding the inverse of the matrix. Why? Because my matrix is in kind of like an identity form, right? So it becomes a very easy system of equations. You don't need to take the inverse. You just know, okay, I have 100, I can just take 2 of those. 400, I can just take 4 of those, and I have 300, I can just take 3 of those. And example 7, if you look at example 7, I'm gonna come to that later, you have, for example, a cash flow here. So this is a bond that has a cash flow in year 2 and a cash flow in year 1. So you cannot just divide this by that, and this by that, and this by that. Right? Do I repeat this again? Again. So here it was very easy because the bonds, they don't have overlapping cash flows. Each bond pays an amount in different tiers. So you can just simply divide the amounts and get the number of each bond that you want. But if this was 40, for example, right? Then you need to solve the system of linear equations, which is like given by the matrix there, because how can I know what is the weight here? Because I have 100 from this bond and I have 40 from this bond.
Yep. You should be able to solve that too. Like,
Yeah.
this is an example that, it happened that the first 3 instruments is like the scale up of a identity matrix. But exam, it could be that, the payoff is not that nice. that you can just look into it and figure out what the components of your portfolio. So
And
you
this
should
is
be
what I'm
able
gonna
to.
do example 7,
Yep.
which has like an overlapping price. But I just want to give you the intuition before I get there. So then, yeah, this is just, you would take 2 times 95, 4 times 90, 3 times 80, and you get your price. It's very simple. All right, now, in the next question, he's asking about he's saying is D correctly priced? Like, is D fairly priced? So, how do you know that? Exactly. So, do you want to tell me what your replicating portfolio is for D?
41, 2B2, and 60.
And again, how would you calculate the price?
Take the present value of all the 3 bonds and then multiply them by the XD matrix. So basically 4 times 95.
Yes. Does everybody follow why we did the replicating portfolio for part D to know if it's fairly priced or not? Okay. So this is the price for that. This is the fair price that I found for bond D. And again, so this is a constructed bond, right? So its prices could be fair or not fair. Like somebody, let's say, overprice it for some reason. But these I know are always fair because we make an assumption in finance that the market is always fair. So in order to know if a bond is fairly priced or not, let me construct it from the market, which I know is fair, and look at the price I get from the market and compare it to the price that it's actually selling at. So I get this. So what do you think? This is the fair price of bond D. And yet its price is this. What can you conclude?
It's overpriced.
Sorry?
It's overpriced.
It's overpriced. And if it's overpriced, is there a business opportunity for you? Like, can you actually make profit because this bond is overpriced? Right? So what would you do?
So,
Sorry? Yeah.
so
Yes?
you got it.
You would sell the bond. So you would sell the bond and give them your replicated portfolio, and you would make a profit. I'm gonna like do the table that Hackman has in his notes, and you would get the 35 difference, the 35 price difference as a profit. And in the real world, when bonds are like they have like millions in these cash flows, this makes a really huge difference. So let's do the table. So we sell D. So this is what I was talking about. This bond is overpriced, so we're gonna sell it, right? And then I'm gonna buy the replicating portfolio instead and get this profit difference. So if I, sorry,
Are we assuming you already have the bond with you?
yes.
What do you mean?
Like, we can't sell it unless we already have it at the fair price. Or that we buy just the individual bonds and then we can make an ETF of our own and then sell it at the high price of the whole portfolio.
Right, here
Yeah.
we're making the assumption that, you're right, but here we're making the assumption that you can always short sell. That means that you can sell an instrument even though you don't have it. So, and the selling or the buying of the bond and the selling of buying of the replicating portfolio always goes hand in hand, right? For example, right now the bond is overpriced, so you want to sell that and buy into the replicating portfolio. And right now, if it's underpriced, you want to buy that and sell your replicating portfolio.